Kia ora, this is Andy Hamilton from Manaki, and we've got a real talk. And today I'm welcome Leanne Batts, or Le Batts. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Where are you?
I'm in Taupo, actually, the mighty fine Lake District.
You live there?
I do. It's a spot and a half.
You love it?
I do. We only moved earlier this year, but of course, remote work has its benefits. Being able to choose where you live and not having to live in big centres necessarily is one of them. So we're fully embracing that in the regions. It's good.
And you wouldn't have traffic time, road time.
No commute, no stress like that. And I will say Taupo is pretty cool because it's a bit of a destination, right? So you get these nice sleepy during the week, and then in the weekend it livens up. People come to town. There's a bit of fun to be had. We get a lot of visitors. So I would say best of both worlds.
Do you ski?
I haven't in years, but I do love getting on the slopes. Yes.
Yeah, I love Taupo, not only because my godmother, who is 90 or 91, lives there, and it's a very special place in my heart to go and see her, and been seeing her for the last 30 years in Taupo. So it's pretty awesome. Now, I should have introduced you. So, Le Batts.
We've got time.
We have got time. So how do you describe yourself?
That's a good question. At the moment, I am an entrepreneur, I would say first and foremost, and heavily into the Web3 space. I've gone down the rabbit hole as anyone else that would identify as being in the space is exactly what they've done, right? You're Alice, you've jumped down, and there is no coming back. And so I'm heavily in the Web3 space, which was unpredictable. If you had asked me a couple of years ago, would I be here? I would have said, no way.
It's funny, right? I don't know whether you wrote this, but taking the teams in black into the third web and cooling the planet.
Yep, so I did write that. I'm guilty as charged. Two passions of mine, I guess, at the moment, right? I've always loved sport. It's been my passion from a very young age, playing it, every kind of sport under the sun. But I think just as a Kiwi, right, it's part of our culture, it's part of who we are, it's part of what we do in the weekends across, watching it to playing it to being involved in it. More recently, since becoming a mother, I've become very passionate about climate change, climate action, and how I can kind of play my part in actually creating mass adoption of climate action and coordination, because it's what we need right now. It's where we're at. The time is now or never.
Yeah, it's interesting. Does the cause around climate action, does that drive you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's nearly I've reflected on this a lot. It's nearly a motherly instinct. I think that's kicked in, and before that, I didn't really probably worry too much about what the state of the planet would be in 100 years' time. Now it's extremely important to me. And
especially when you see it through the eyes of your son, right?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, the reason I got into it, and I won't stop until I've made some impact, is that, by the time he's only 3, but by the time he gets to an age where he can ask me questions around this, it'll either be too late or we're well on the track to kind of, keeping it under these goals that we've got to achieve. And what I did.
Are you an activist?
Activationist, probably more than anything. I've never been to a rally or anything like that, right? But hopefully I can spur others to action, right? And this means, like, I have a background in psychology. I studied that at university as equally as marketing, and I think the power is in group movements, things like that. And whilst yes, we can spend our time rallying and lobbying, and it's super important, and it is very much a key to what we've got to make governments and the highest levels act. What we also need is mass movement here, a way for everyone to get involved, even if it's a small amount. And that's actually really tricky these days. It doesn't need to be, but and this is where Web3 excites me, right? Because it's a mass coordination tool.
What do you love then? So what do you love about Web3?
That you can program smart contracts to do anything you dream of, right? And once they're out there and on the blockchain, no one can stop that. It's done. it's happening.
So let's talk about Tres Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about Tres Cool.
So the dream is really to create the coolest internet climate action company, right? Sounds weird, but it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be not something that we've had before. But in reality, what we do is develop software. And at the first sort of starting point is actually developing what they call a smart contract standard. Now, when you come into this world, the code source is there, right? You all you do is come in and inherit that. So when you create an NFT today, usually what that is an ERC 721. All that means is that this is already created. That's the smart contract standard that you do for an NFT. It has most of the things you'd ever need. You can come in, of course, and put your bespoke stuff on top of that, whatever you might need for your project or use case. What we're doing is creating the ERC Cool. Essentially, it's the ERC 721 made quite gas efficient, so it's got a low carbon footprint in the transactions that it does, but it also immutably and perpetually removes carbon. So it automatically sends funds to purchase carbon removal in the real world. We then tokenize that carbon removal and add that or embed it back into the NFT. So these NFTs are kind of holding the asset of carbon. So for the first time, anyone acting and anyone using these NFTs is actually taking a step into this ownership era where for your action, you're rewarded, which is, again, never been done. So sustainable NFTs is really what these are. But yeah, I think game-changing climate action too is really the core of it.
Does it excite you?
Massively. Yeah. I think, I think if this can go out there and play a part, it's not the silver bullet, it's not going to solve the problem, but it could play a major part. When you think about where this technology is going in the future of the internet, NFTs are the building blocks, are the Lego blocks. And if we can kind of put them onto default mode and action and get them to going, to work for us to help cool the planet and push forward carbon removal, why wouldn't you do it? It seems like,
okay,
to me,
two questions. One of them is challenging on this. So we'll do that second. First question. I could talk about explaining this to your mother, but let's say you're trying to explain Tres Cool to my godmother, who's lives in Taupo, but has also come from the just north of Canterbury and Conroy Flats, and she's a wilding, so part of that wilding family. So and she's 91, and she does text me, and every now and then I go down and clean out her email inbox and get rid of all the spam and make sure that she's not been hacked. So how would you describe Tres Cool to her?
Oh, yeah, good one. I mean, I think I probably wouldn't. Yeah. This is not the challenge. I think I'd probably describe what we're doing, not necessarily. Not necessarily how, or maybe it is how actually, rather than what. But essentially, we're using a digital method to capture carbon. And the way I've kind of tried to describe it in the past is like, think about it like a digital mop going out into our atmosphere and capturing carbon, or a net or anything like that, if you can think about it like that. And that's effectively what we're creating in code. Then we're giving that code to anyone that wants to use it, anyone that wants to put it into. And again, this is tricky because we've got two complex things. One's around carbon removal, and the other one's around Web3 and NFTs and all this sort of stuff. But essentially, that piece of code is the net, the digital net capturing carbon. Then the use case for NFTs is, as we know, NFT. I think the best analogy I've had for an NFT is that it's almost a digital blank piece of paper. It can make it do whatever you want. And that's where I get excited and see the power of this, because if you make that something that's inherently helping the planet, and then give it into what is unlimited use cases, watch that fly.
Well, I was going to ask you, right? So do good. I can see the good. I can see the impact. I can see the automation that could come from this. And I think most of us are pretty good about the planet and want to do our part. And so, we're excited by that. But can this make money?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Anything at scale can make money.
Okay.
And then again,
so this is going to make your aspiration is to make shitloads of money for you.
It should, yeah, and not for me. This will be progressively centralized, right? So it isn't just me here. It will be whoever wants to come on the journey, and that again is the power of Web3.
Okay, hard question. Tres Cool needs a soundtrack.
Yes.
It needs a soundtrack. What's the song that represents Tres Cool right now?
Good one. This is a challenge.
Or it can be a type of music.
Well, actually, there's a song by the Chemical Brothers called, now I'm going to butcher the actual title, but it's like, "We're Only Here to Make You Go."
Oh.
I don't even know if that's the actual title.
I'm not going to ask you to sing it.
That is me. I'm not going to.
I mean, we could get it going in the studio behind me, but no.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it afterwards.
Play it afterwards, because that is a tune, and I think instead of go, it's cool. Like, that's the theme song for this. We're only here to make you cool. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make climate action culturally kind of relevant, turning carbon into cultural currency, and actually making this, imagine if what we did is go around and show off the fact that we've removed this much carbon. Wouldn't that be a much better world?
I fucking love it.
And I think that's possible.
On the basis that my parents have passed away and my godmother won't watch this, I can swear. But
you can drop an F-bomb.
Because your mother is going to be watching it, as I know from the message I got before the call. Not that I know your mother. She seems lovely. Now, we're going to talk later about how you got into Web3, but Web3 strategy for the All Blacks, New Zealand rugby.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So like, what is it? What are you doing?
Yeah. So it's a funny one. I'm very fortunate to first of all say that I work for the All Blacks and am able to kind of, lead these teams into this space. I feel very privileged by it, right? And
that's a bit of alpha there, by the way. Just stop. Lead the teams into this space. I think something's coming.
Eyeballs emojis. Absolutely, watch this space, and you might not have to wait too long with a bit of luck. But really, our philosophy, next week. You said it, not me. But the philosophy here is, I think, it's in line with the philosophy or the strategy that the All Blacks are taking, right? And when you look at what we are, is a very unique situation. We are a national team, representing New Zealand, but we are on a global scale. Now I'm very deep in the research, but we've got nearly 300 million fans out there. We transcend rugby. There's more people into the All Blacks than there are actually into the game of rugby. When you look at that 300 million fans, roughly 42% of those do not follow rugby. So we are a sports team that people don't even care about what we do. They care about what we are, what we stand for, how we go about doing what we do, right? And so we're iconic in that sense. And I think when it comes to Web3, what's so exciting is that this is the unlock. This is the chance to go beyond just what happens on a field and actually allow people to participate and take part on a whole new level, and engage with everything that we're about. The core, not just the rugby, not just the players, not just the things that you expect, right? So I think then we can actually move it all into a whole new space. And I think that's what's super exciting. And that is the dream. It'll take a while to get there.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Because like I hear when you talk about that, like immense passion, I see, a lot of potential. I see potential challenge, because it is a new world and a different world. And it's new world and different world for administrators, sponsors, players.
Correct. Yeah.
Are they up for it?
It has to go slowly, right? When the world's not up for it yet. You look at the space, it's got horrible user experience. I read a meme the other day. It's like the 8 easy steps to buy an NFT. Like the world's not ready really to adopt this fully yet, right? but we know it's coming, and we know it's coming really quickly, faster than we might expect. I think there is a chance to lead here, experiment here. And when I say experiment, it's not that, we're going into this with no thought and no procedures and no preparation. It's that this is a little bit of, let's see what happens. Let's see what can be done. Let's see what boundaries we can push here. Let's see where we all want to actually end up. And I think, again, that's super exciting for sport as an industry, right? We should
Can I
see
ask you a
things
question? So
change.
what I want you to do is, it sounds a bit weird. I want you to close your eyes, right?
Okay.
Right? Close your eyes. I want you to take yourself to 2 years out from now, and I want you to say single words that define how you see in 2 years' time the All Blacks in the metaverse.
I think immersive should be a word that's coming to mind.
You know, there's a company called Immersive.
Yeah.
What else?
Plug, right?
You can open your eyes
integrated,
now because it looks a bit weird.
Yeah. I think that what came to mind when you close your eyes, what comes to mind is I can imagine myself standing there doing a 360, and I'm at the new home ground of the All Blacks, which is in a digital space, right? Imagine that. And I can go in, I can learn about the legacy. I can take the tour of everything that's been poured into the black jersey so far. Maybe I can try a jersey on, see what it's like, maybe create myself as a player. Maybe I can play some games.
Can I buy an NFT?
Surely, right? These things this is just the technology that's running it. Anything I might buy in the real world, I should be able to do in this digital world.
And will I be able to buy something in the digital world that'll transport into the physical world?
Yeah, of course. I think the digital is a no-brainer. That's going to happen too, right? So if I buy that here, so say I go into this digital stadium and I try on a shirt and I like it and I buy it, it'll turn up at my doorstep, days later in the real world.
Conventional wisdom says in the startup world and in the founder world, you have to do one thing and only do one thing, right?
Yep.
So you're a founder, you're a contractor, can you do both?
Yeah, I think you can. I know that is probably what is best practice, but I would actually argue that the learnings that you take from everywhere, they allow you, like Slumdog Millionaire, that movie, that kind of tells you like all your experiences come together to create something special, or by limiting yourself to just doing one thing, yes, you might be, the master of one, but sometimes being jack of all trades is super helpful too, right? We've got good examples of this in this space. Like what the McDonald's brothers have done. They're creating so many things. And you look at most, reputable founders around the world, they've never just done one thing, and they'll never just do one thing. It's an addiction, I think, when you're a bit of when you're entrepreneurial, you can't help but see opportunity everywhere.
So your background, like, is you talked about it being psychology, and looking at your background, you started out in like sales and marketing, product manager, marketing manager, digital marketing manager in pharmaceutical.
Classic career path. And
you learned some core skills in that area, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's an interesting question. How the hell did that take you into Web3?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it is the entrepreneurial side, and for that I have my parents to thank. Right, they were restaurateurs for my entire life, pretty much. So they've worked for themselves, many different restaurants over the years. My stepfather is Italian, so Italian cuisine, and he is your quintessential entrepreneur. He can't help but see opportunity, buying, selling, trading, doing everything everywhere, and he's really different from the world that I came out into after university, which was get in somewhere, stay on a career path, and go through the get a promotion after promotion, blah blah blah. And I mean, I started that way because that was kind of what you were told to do. That was success at the time, right? But I know that felt like there was no fire within me if I did that. You know, I could turn up there and operate on, I would say, what is 50% of what I needed to put in and do the job, you know.
But
and that didn't
you didn't know that when you went into those roles. Did you come to
no.
realization?
Yeah, I think I was sitting there for a while going, this just doesn't excite me, you know. This is yes, I get a nice paycheck and it was good money, it was pharmaceutical, it was a good job, you know, really well looked after, great companies, but just didn't have it, you know, didn't drive me. I needed something more. I needed to go out and find that. And the first journey that I took, and this is I'll quickly jump to Web3 in a second, but I did like all Kiwis did and went traveling, right? And when I did that, so actually I was managed to get a redundancy package out of my pharmaceutical role, which was nice, paid for my travel. Took off, thought, you know what, I'll just go and see what happens. No real plan, but I wanted to get into sport. That was what I told myself. I love sport. I'm passionate about it. That's what will make me feel, you know, what I'm missing in this world. And I actually managed to I started first of all volunteering with FC Barcelona at their clinics, right? They train children all over the world in like summer camp kind of format. And really what it is actually, you know, commercial. They're creating fans from the age as young as age 6, gathering in their families and giving them a, you know, a memorable experience, something they'll never forget, which is, I mean, it's awesome, an awesome thing to be involved in. But what they're doing is converting them to fans so young, you know, and they'll love this team from that day onwards. I mean, it's a very clever strategy. And while I was doing that, I thought the All Blacks need to do this. The All Blacks need to be doing this. So I actually managed to get a contract out of Barca to go back. This was in Canada that I was working for them, set it up in Australia across Australia and New Zealand. So I ran that for about 3 years. And that was my first experience at becoming a founder and running my own business. And it was me just to begin with. And then I grew a team around it. It was really hard work, right? But really rewarding. And I learned a lot. And in the whole back of my time, I was thinking the All Blacks need to be doing this. This is exactly would work with what they need to do, their strategy, how we get people into rugby, all that sort of stuff. So I actually kind of naively went to them and said, hey, I've been doing this. You need to do it too. And pitched it to them. Well, they were already doing it. I had good timing. They were like, yes, we're already actually doing this. We don't really know what we're doing. Can you help? Of course, at the time I was 36 weeks pregnant, so I didn't have much time. So I quickly came in and sort of gave them everything I'd learned basically from my time with Barca, and gave them a plan on how to do it, a plan on how to roll it out, and said, right, good luck. I'm going to have my baby, but maybe I can come back in and do this. So they hired for the role while I was on maternity leave. And of course, so I stayed in touch, right? I came back in and did other business development things with them and just, you know, while I sort of working part-time, that sort of thing. And of course, COVID came in and squashed it though. So in some ways it was really fortunate that it wasn't me, because I think I would have, you know, that all would have gone to bed. And if I was just doing that, I would have become a one-trick pony for New Zealand rugby. But in that time, I'd picked up stuff on, you know, esports. They do leadership training for executives. I was working across many, many different things, whatever they kind of needed resource on, right? At the same time, I started going down my own personal rabbit hole with wanting to do something for the climate. By then I'd had my son, Oscar, and I was, you know, I literally call it a cocktail of too little sleep with one too many climate documentaries. And I was like, boom, I've got to do something. I'm not stopping. Mother guilt or mother instinct, I don't know which. It's probably equal parts of both, but I was like, right, I've got to do something. At the same time, Beeple had dropped his 5,000 day, you know, through Christie's, the $69 million sale of his digital artwork. So we started to hit the headlines, right? And I was like, what is this stuff? This is so strange. Why is it making so much money? And, you know, I started to look into it, and I was like, in the back of my mind was what was cooking away with the kind of climate action side was, could we make carbon collectible? Could we make it so instead of flybars, you were getting, you know, these carbon? And when I came across the NFT technology, and I had a really cool, I still do have a very cool friend an advisor back then who was right into tech, but he was sort of getting into blockchain. He was like, you should look at NFTs. And I was like, oh yeah, I will. But of course the narrative around them.
Don't we all need someone like that just goes,
oh yeah,
just gives you the confidence or the belief or the direction to go after something?
Yeah, he is absolutely the reason I started to get so deep into this. Like it's all his fault and all because of him. So, but like I remember catching up with him maybe a month later after he first told me. He's like, I'd gone right into it. I'd come back and I was chatting away, and he's like, hang on a minute, you know more than I do about this stuff now. Like, what have you done? And I was like, I just started reading and I have not stopped, and at the time, Bored Ape had also dropped, right? And I can remember watching these things come out right at the beginning. They were like, I don't know, $1,000 at the time. And I was thinking, who on earth would pay $1,000 for this? This is strange. But it captivated me, right? I think then the marketing side of me was like, whoa, these things are all completely unique. You get to own one, but there's only ever 10,000. So they're scarce and they're opening digital doors. Like this is like that. I remember that really blew my mind. And I just knew there was no looking back after that. And then I watched them go like everyone else did from what was 1,000 to...
So you're involved in a lot of things, right? Because you're advisors and other companies.
Yeah.
Do you say yes to everything?
I do struggle to say no. I guess because I like to help people as well. I mean, I like, if I can offer help, I will. I want to, you want to give, how much you appreciate it when people do it to you. So I think it's important to try and give what you can back. Our time's limited here.
Is that unique to the Web3 world, or is that just your philosophy in life?
I think it's my philosophy, but I also think it is very much the way that one blockchain's operated today, or the Web3 world is operated today. And certainly now that this kind of boom and bust is done, everyone here is building, but I'm in communities now where it's all founders and they're all just willing to help each other. Can we collab? Can you give me advice? Can you make intros for me? Can you do this? And everyone's thinking about how we can help each other. So it's very real.
Now, every guest has to tell a secret.
Right.
And you know how you told me those secrets just before we got on air?
Yeah.
You can't tell those ones. But if you got like a bit of alpha, maybe not about the All Blacks because you're getting too much shit, but
I will.
Something about Tres Cool.
Well, a secret. I don't know if it'll be a secret because I'm pretty keen to tell everyone. But we've got some really good early signals that'll be picked up by a platform called ThirdWeb, who actually operate with some of the the biggest companies in the world in creating their NFTs. They've offered to actually feature the new contract standard as in like one of 10, and they'll do a bit of promo around it too. So it could be really good. Cool. That is secret at the moment, but
that's next week.
Let's hope it doesn't. Yeah, it should well, in the next few weeks when the contract's finalized. If it comes crashing down, maybe we'll just edit this part out later, right?
That's why we couldn't do this meeting a little bit earlier, because you were with the lawyers.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Nice. Hey, the best daily or weekly newsletters on Web3 that you consume?
Milk Road, for sure.
Milk Road?
Milk Road, yep. Very, very, very well written in a light and kind of palatable way, but very informative, right? They're very up to the minute. You get a really good subsection of what's going on, not just in NFTs, but kind of the broader market. For those that are more Web 2, but into, moving into Web 3, I follow, because I've become very involved with an awesome lady across in the United States called Dana Hawk, HORK. If you either on LinkedIn or I think if you just Google that, it would even come up.
Yep.
Substack. So yeah, she does a really cool it's Web 2.5. So it's really talking about the transition. And again, it's in really easy language. So if someone's quite new to the space or looking to kind of think how it might apply to them or what a brand's doing in this space, it's very, very cool. And then I just nerd out on carbon removal stuff, so it's not really Web3.
Of course you do. What do your mates think of you? The ones that have grown up with you?
Yeah, they think I'm super weird, I think, at the moment, because no one quite gets what's all this Web3 stuff about. My family certainly think it's very strange. But everyone knows that I was always thinking of stuff, you know, I'm always into trying to figure out banding around ideas. I'm that person. So I don't think anyone's super surprised. My friends are hugely supportive. They love it. They were like, you know, keep going. Mainly around obviously the Cool the Planet kind of mission. Everyone's extremely supportive around that.
Yeah.
And you know, founding anything in startups it's a shitty thing to go through, especially by yourself. So you do need those people around you to kind of be your cheerleaders and keep you going. It's a roller coaster, right? There are highs and there are massive lows, and there are times when you want to quit and give up and stop and the rest of it, but you got to come back to why you're doing it. And I think those people are there to remind you at just the right times.
So do you have tough days?
Oh yeah, of course. Because I mean, I'm trying to, like you say, I'm doing a lot of things, right? So I often wonder, like, why am I doing this to myself? I don't actually have to do all these things. I can just do one, you know, and that would be fine. That would be pretty normal, actually. But it comes back to what you want to achieve, I guess. And I mean, I could probably talk to a counselor rather than you about all these sort of things. But you know, why do I want to achieve those things? There's mixed and varied reasons, right? And I think for now, I'm fortunate enough to have a super supportive husband who helps me a lot in order to kind of go as deep as I've gone and go to these spaces. So without him, it'd be impossible. I've got mum nearby. Again, you've got to have your support network around you. It's not just me doing these things. It's actually lots of people. And while I'm in this little part of it, the world around is what actually helps you get there, right? So, yeah, without that, it's not happening.
One thing you could tell, which might be a secret, is Women in NFTs and Women in Web3, an event in December. Is that right? That's
correct. Yep. The fine folk at Immersive have got behind actually putting something together to actually make this happen, right? So there are very few and far between women in this world globally. And then, as you can imagine, even smaller once we get down to New Zealand.
Why?
And purely because one, woman in tech, but then women in kind of new tech is you know, you're just a minority. And the risk here is if we leave it that way, women will miss on the opportunity. You know, once again, we'll be on the sidelines when the world's sort of taking off in a new direction. And the cool thing about this space is, look, I've only been here, nearly 2 years, but look at where you can get to in 2 years, and we're still so early. So anyone learning today is early still. So, and I mean, I'm the prime example. I just started learning myself. Everything was self-led. Everything was because I wanted to do it. And then you end up living and breathing it, you know, creating your own company, working for one of the world's biggest brands in this space. It's all doable. It's still doable. No one can tell you no.
So tell us, if there are females, wahine, in NFTs, Web3 that there's an event in December, how do they get involved?
There is. They could reach out. They can reach out to me personally, because I can connect you into the group. Immersive is the company that's putting their hand up to kind of lead it. Michelle, there, you can reach out to her. Maybe we can put some little contacts in underneath this as well. And then Hustle and Flow Discord, right? That's a good place to come in and chat and hang out. You'll feel very safe there, and you can reach out to us on there, and we'll make it happen.
And so I think that's going to be, it might be like 7th or 8th of December, right? In Auckland, in Tamaki.
Yeah, I think we're looking at either the 8th or the 9th, just trying to band you around and see who's kind of mostly available. But it'll be sort of that early December time, and in Auckland for an in real life event. And of course there are people that are not going to be able to make it, but hopefully this is just the start of something, right? Somewhere that we can all kind of connect and hang. Yeah.
I can tell a secret too, I think.
Oh, go on. Actually, I should be asking you these back.
No, you're not allowed to do that. My hosts are never my guests are never allowed to ask. But I was just going to say, I'm just getting the date, 3rd of December, we're having an event at the Indigo Studios called Off the Chain.
That's right.
I don't know whether I was meant to say that, but we're going to do a following on from the block party from Queen's birthday weekend. We're going to do an event and it's going to be cool. And so that's just amazing to see the communities coming together in December. And, you know, I've got 2 daughters and they think I'm crazy as well around Web3 NFTs and my fluffs and, well, my fluff. I wish I had more fluffs than one fluff.
Yeah.
But I only have one. I think seeing the opportunity for them to see that they can have a place in Web3 and tech.
Yep.
I just love the fact that people like you and the immersive people say, let's just go and make a difference and do something to show others, because that's important. Right now, I have another part of what I have is rocket questions, which is a very subtle way to tell my guests not to answer in a long mono whatever. I'd like, and some of them get it. Like Brooke doesn't. He doesn't listen. But I love him dearly. But so the rocket questions are, you can't talk your ass off. All right. So you have to try and be short. Positive energy.
Yes.
What gives you positive energy?
People. I'm an extrovert. Bring it on. They recharge me.
What gives you negative energy?
People that bring problems and not solutions.
My daughter said to me this morning, my charging cables are ripped at the end. And I went, why the fuck are you telling me this? Like, what am I going to do about that? Go and fucking
I'm
buy
not an electrician.
One. Go and buy one and claim it back from daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Get
like,
dad's
why
card.
are you so mean? Why are you so mean? I'm like, whatever. You're going to be living in Australia next year, girl. Got to start looking after yourself. But I think she thinks I'm a complete prick. Okay. What gets you out of bed each day?
Usually my son, if I'm honest. He'll literally physically wake me up. But you know, that's as much as it is physical, it's mental and spiritual as well. He gets me out of bed.
How's corporate life, Web3 life, and high performance sport similar or different?
All similar and connected through, at the end of the day, you're an individual with choices to make around playing as a team or becoming part of a team and doing things together. So you have to be self-driven. You have to have yourself, motivation.
Do you like
and
to
then
lead?
I think you have to figure out.
Oh, no, you go.
Yeah. And then you have to figure out how to make it work together, right? You can't go anywhere really on your own. Maybe in high performance sports, some, right? But, yeah.
When you're running up a hill with others, do you just keep going or do you go back and get the others that are behind?
I'd be the kind of person that would get the ones behind. Like from sport, from what I know about myself and what I've learned by sport, is that I wouldn't play tennis because I'd give up. I wouldn't chase that ball because there's only me to worry about. But when it came to football, I played soccer. I wouldn't stop because I knew that if I did, I'd let down everyone else. So yeah, I'd be the one to go back and I'd probably enjoy the break. If I had to go back down the hill, I'd take a breather. Smart.
What position in soccer did you play?
Usually out in the wing, sometimes striker, but I was actually really bad at scoring goals. So I had a lot of speed, not a lot of skill.
Or didn't have white line fever? Yeah,
exactly.
It takes a unique person to be a really good striker in those sorts of games, right? Shooting goals, soccer, hockey. Yeah.
Mentality is, didn't quite have it anyway.
What are the choices you make in life?
Everything. You can choose anything. We're pretty fortunate. Most people are pretty fortunate to be able to choose most of things in their life.
So, but in your first person, do you have to make choices?
Yeah, all the time, every day.
Easy?
But you're lucky. They're not always easy. No, sometimes they are hard, and sometimes they take you to be brave. Sometimes they come with opportunity cost. But I think you're fortunate if you're allowed to. You're fortunate if you're allowed to make choices.
You're blessed. Do founders need to make a choice between power and wealth?
No. Web3 will prove that.
Oh, that's interesting. Any regrets as a founder?
Many. You don't always get it right, but you don't. I mean, actually, regrets is probably not the right word. Have I made mistakes? Hell yeah, keep doing it, and I will keep doing it, and that's how you learn. Are they regrets? No, because as long as you learn from them, yeah. Maybe no regrets.
Earlier this week, Rach and our team shared a Gary V piece where he was talking about, he was asked, do you ever make mistakes? And he's like, hello, every day, every second is another mistake that's coming up, and it empowers him. And it was just he's an extraordinary person. He's pretty out there, but he is quite extraordinary.
Out there, right? Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about as having to get right as a founder, that you must get right?
Your core or your foundation, which comes back to your why, right? Like if you get that right and you get really kind of okay with that yourself, I think you're on the right path. You won't get, shiny lights directing you away from what you're trying to do.
So here's an interesting question. Is your why in front of you, where your feet are, or behind you?
No, my why's behind me. That's what sets me up.
How old are you?
Is in front of me. What am I? 38. To think about that.
When did you know what your why was?
Oh, I think becoming a parent helps.
Yeah.
Put everything into perspective. Yeah, it's something that's shifting in life, right? Before that, you're quite selfish. You are innately just doing things for yourself, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But by becoming a parent, you start to truly do things for the first time for something else, something bigger than you, I think, anyway.
It's awakening in some regards, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of awake time. So, but no, absolutely. It's, it's a changing experience, right?
What are your daily habits? Other than Oscar waking you up?
Yeah, no, it's usually breakfast as a family. Then I get straight into work, to be honest. And at this stage, at the moment, there's just a lot of that. Some days I'll work till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I hope this won't be the future. I do love to do a bit of exercises, and I've actually had a spinal fusion. That's a lingering injury from football. So I'm quite young to have gone through that. So I don't do any of what you would think an ex-football player might do now. Sadly had to hang up the boots and all the rest of it, but no, I like to get out for a walk. I live in Taupo, take in nature, do a bit of mountain biking. If I can, I will squeeze something in, but I have been horrendous at that lately, if I'm honest. So a daily routine will always have a coffee, a lot of work at this point in time. And spending time with my husband and my kid. And then, if I can, I'll sneak in some exercise.
Now, here's an interesting question for you. So you have the blessings and the privilege to be working inside some, an iconic New Zealand organization, right?
I do. Yep.
One of the things, I personally and Manaki really stand for the underserved and the underrepresented. Some people see that as us being anti-corporate, and we're not anti-corporate, right? It's just that we always think about the smaller business, the smaller community organization. And so here's a challenge and a question for you. So my daughters play hockey, field hockey. They are card-carrying, loving fans of Western Districts hockey out in West Auckland, right? So they're Westies, right? I never thought that they would do that, and also that I never thought that I would become a Westie fan, and I am a total Westie convert, right?
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, I'm hooked. But here's the question. I can understand how organizations like the Warriors and the All Blacks can come up with a Web3 strategy and how that can be a part, and the resources they apply, and the NFTs and the monetization. But can you see a way that, smaller community-based organizations like Western Districts Hockey could utilize Web3 technologies to support their community and their club?
Yeah, I mean, I think there will be ways. Is it right now? No, because there is not mass adoption ready or happening yet, right? And that basically means that, yes, those that have the resource are the ones that can chase the opportunity now, or lead or get into it first, right? Like someone has to have time to learn, someone has to have time to think of how it works, how the strategy happens. But what I think we will see happen with the technology is as it rolls out and becomes more mainstream and more widely adopted, costs come down, barriers come down, education goes up. How I think they will need to get there is support through the likes of community organizations, whether that be Sport NZ, but also the likes of Manaki and things like that come together to help those kind of smaller to medium enterprises take the opportunities, or understand them at least. Because I think what we really, when we think about this space, would be similar to how we felt about websites before they came out. We could have been having a conversation going, do you think a sports organization would do well from a website? And we would go on, yeah, I think so, but they probably don't want to spend $100,000 building one right now when hardly anyone's using them. But now we know everyone needs a website. It's just what you need. Same for social media. Back then we would have gone, yes, but maybe not yet. And I think we're saying the same thing about Web3. It'll undoubtedly be a part of everything they do, just it's not yet.
So Web3 in a box for Western Districts hockey, that might include the equivalent of a Discord server. It might have a DAO, voting mechanism, smart contracts, membership as an NFT.
Membership. Yeah. And then stuff we haven't even thought of yet, right? Like things that we just haven't got there yet. But those are the kind of obvious, surely likely to happen in my mind kind of thing.
True or false?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get in trouble. The All Blacks Web3 strategy will include opportunities for grassroots to benefit.
True.
That's good. I'm not going to ask the next question.
Okay.
When you think about, we're getting near the end now. When you think about the opportunity of Web3 for other founders in New Zealand, and Australia, wherever, you're clearly passionate about climate and climate change and impact, and you will see more and more opportunities around this, and you won't be able to resist to jump in. But when you think about other areas for Web3, where are you going near term? There's some pretty exciting areas.
Like a near term in the industries are definitely in sport, obviously. I believe that. But I also think music is probably the next cab off the rank. Like I think music will be the next could even bring the next boom in kind of NFT use cases.
Have you seen Diaz Grimm's release?
No, is that recent? I haven't.
Yeah, like last week, 2 weeks ago. He's doing like AOT tokens for his album release.
There you go. Yeah. So you can see, I mean, it's creeping in. We know that there's some big players already here. There's been some big funding in this space. I think that'll be a really big kind of industry disruption or shuffle and change. And it will introduce or onboard a lot of people, I think, to Web3 because they'll get it. Like it makes sense. You start to think about, I'm a fan of a singer. Without us, the whole thing doesn't work. And I always use this example about Beyonce in other presentations I've done around teaching someone around how to think about Web3 and NFTs and the way it all works. But just imagine you're a fan of Beyonce right in her earliest days of Destiny's Child. Maybe she every time you interact with her music, you're actually buying an NFT, a ticket to her concert. These things are NFTs. Maybe she releases a token really early and you believe in her. So you're like, yeah, let's do that. And she does away with the whole need for the kind of traditional music, recording label contracts and the rest of it. She relies on her fans. You're the one that's invested in her. And if she rises, of course, you're still her fan. In fact, you've now got more reason to go ahead and do it. But what you're left with at the end of the day is not just memories and a song that you love to play and stream and someone else is getting the value from that. You have the value sitting in your hand and you helped also create it. And I think that's where music might actually just unlock a lot for people going, oh, I can actually take a part. I can be a participant and a part owner in all of this, and in theory, we should be as fans,
Well, we are now already, except we don't receive the benefit
There's no
that.
value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's utility and enjoyment. Like,
Yeah.
here's a funny
Sorry.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh my God, Taylor Swift, right? Who would think that me as a 54-year-old male, it's got something to do with my daughters, but like, I
Who can
love
help
Taylor
yourself,
Swift.
right? Yeah.
I know, but I like
Is
Garth
that the
Brooks.
secret? Was it?
That's not a secret. Everyone knows. They just look at my Spotify and it's full of Taylor Swift. Have you ever seen Garth Brooks perform?
No, I haven't.
You don't even know who he is, do you?
No. Did you see me look up to the? Yeah, no, I don't.
He's
I
extraordinary.
know the name, but I don't know
Garth Brooks is
anything.
one of the most legendary country artists in the world, and I saw him
Oh,
perform
yeah.
in Phoenix, and actually I
Yes,
saw him perform in Auckland as well,
yeah.
with my then
So you're a real
Phoenix
fan.
girlfriend. Incredible. It's interesting. What do you fear?
I mean, obviously, it's the state of the planet. You know, this is real. There is no time. We are out of time. We've got 3 years to turn this stuff around. We are the Titanic heading for an iceberg right ahead. We've got to put it in reverse. We've got to turn the ship. We've got to do everything we can. And that's real. Like, this is real talk, but that is real. And we've got to do something about it. I'm trying.
Hey, what can people do who are watching this to support and get involved with Tres Cool?
First and foremost is probably Twitter. Follow along on Twitter. That's sort of the most, regular channel. There you'll get updates for the next steps. What we're going to be doing is actually putting the standard contract out as a mint of intent. So like a letter of intent we'd have in the Web2 world, we're actually going to do that on the blockchain, completely free. All we want is people to rally around it and say, yeah, we're here. We want it to happen. We want to see this contract become a standard that's adopted widely. And then a little bit of alpha just for this show is that we very much intend whoever makes a mint of intent will have it's worth doing. Would have something towards the company one day at a certain time. Think of progressive centralization. You probably want to be holding one of those.
Progressive centralization or progressive decentralization?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to Twitter, follow Tres Cool.
Yeah.
Wait for the opportunity to register the intent.
That's it. Actually, if you want to get active straight away, I drop a daily DALL-E 2, which is, OpenAI have this amazing technology where you can go in and tell their bot to create you artwork. And so I've been doing that daily. And then I drop it on Twitter, and it's the daily DALL-E 2 delight. But any interaction is climate action. So any interaction, I'll go away and remove a kg of carbon. So it's better than spending it on marketing in my mind. And of course, it's taking off slowly. People are starting to interact with these things. But if you repost, like, comment, whatever you might like to do, I'll remove a kg of carbon. So it's actually action. And then I post the little removal certificate at the bottom of the daily thing. So yeah, you could actually go and get active right away.
Do you speak French?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, I learned in school, but I would not do well now.
Tres Cool.
Why that exactly name? Right. Very cool.
Why Le Bats?
I think there is just that theme there, right? But Leanne Bats, and in this space we don't tend to give away our whole names, but yeah, that's it is feeling very French, isn't it?
It is, but that's okay. Any questions of me?
You said I wasn't allowed to ask any.
Whatever. When have you ever done what you were told to do?
What you've been told, yeah, that's a good point. Why why country music? Why country music? How'd you get into that? Time in the States.
I'm an emotional human, and I lived in San Diego 91, 92, America's Cup as a security guard. I fell in love with a Phoenician who the Phoenicians used to fly over from Phoenix to San Diego for weekends. And and she took me to Phoenix, and I got a love of country music. I was like, this is crazy. These guys are nuts. And then I
love it that way.
Yeah, and I like it. I like country music.
Yeah.
And people think I'm a nut bar, and I don't give a fuck.
No, exactly. Yeah, good. I knew there'd be a story. There has to be a story. That's it.
Now
I
I'm
have
just
no
hoping
other
my
questions.
wife doesn't watch this.
Yeah. My mum and your wife.
Yeah. No other questions?
Don't think so. How did you get into Web3, actually? I want to know that.
Yeah, so doing the Manaki Indigo stuff,
That's it.
I saw what Aaron, David, the brothers were doing. I had history with kind of understanding what Centrality were doing. I saw what Brooke was doing.
Yep.
I had time through lockdown, so I started reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is like I like decentralization and I like disruption. So I was like, there's something here. And I've got this massive drive that when I identify something that I think others might benefit from, I take a responsibility to write about it and share it with other people. Right. But I've also learned that I'm a procrastinator in life. And like, I remember being struck once by being in a high rise in Singapore and seeing all the ships in the Singapore harbor and going, God, which ship would I get on? And my insight at that moment was, it doesn't matter which ship, just get on a fucking ship. And so what I decided to do with Web3 is like, I started looking, I started interviewing people, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But then I went, boom, if I don't take
Got to
action,
get on a boat.
And so I was talking to Jerome and we're doing a live from Immersive. And I was like, dude, I don't know which one to buy. I've been looking at buying. I've been trying to buy. I've got some crypto, but I just don't know. And he said, well, let's do it tomorrow. No. So we did a live. You can go and look on the Manaki.io.
Did you actually? You bought it together. That was it. That was you entering.
I did it live the next day. I bought a fluff. I bought an ASM box. I bought something else. So I did it live, and that set me up. And then all of a sudden, I got the opportunity for the patents. And of course, like I paid a little bit, but you don't have to pay that much. And that's the thing, right? What we say to a lot of people is just participate, and you learn from the participation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My first one was like this thing called a banana, or I can't even remember. I mean, I've still got it, but it's it's not around anymore. But that was a community again that just taught me a lot of stuff in the beginning. Right? It wasn't actually about what I bought. It's just that I got the learning from it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I totally understand it.
And that's one of the things that you just said then is actually everything about Web3 really is about building community, building causes that people get in behind and participate in, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about.
Do you have a lot of NFTs?
Oh yeah, I looked in my, OpenSea's put together that kind of portfolio thing where you can put all your wallets together. There's a lot of crap, but there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that you get sent as well, like airdropped and all that sort of stuff. But
I'm getting these notifications of shit that I'm like, I didn't buy that.
Nah, but they'll just because you're in fluff, they'll know. Then they'll drop something all to anyone holding a fluff in their wallet. They'll drop that. It's guerrilla marketing at its finest in some ways.
Have you showed your husband how many NFTs you've got?
I have. I have actually been I've tried to make him very aware of, I'm part of this, I'm buying that, or investing in this one, because there's a bit of money that goes, this is my tuition. But I've always made sure he knows what I'm in, but he can't keep up, and I don't blame him. It's too much. But yeah, when you're in, you're in. Actually, I've got one more question before, if there's time.
Yeah.
Because see, with your background and your where you've come from, which is sort of through VC and that sort of world, have you seen, does this feel like the .com, or does this feel like something else to you? You've seen these things come along, because I wonder is whether this is like COVID and that sort of stuff has superpowered this and supercharged the speed of adoption and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd be interested.
So I think the answer to that is, and if I use on an analogy of sailing, before technology used to track the speed and direction of boats, you needed a lot of expertise to know how fast they're going and where they're going. So Russ Coots and Brad could just look with their eyes and see. Now there's enough technology that you can see the trends. And so the challenge with any new technology is that you're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. And
Yep.
all I do is I think about, like, because there's a lot of noise, and there was a lot of noise and volume in and around Web3. All I try and do is look at and understand utility and problem solving, and who's really solving problems. Because if you look back, Uber experience in Auckland was terrible, right, when it started. And actually now it's pretty terrible, by the way. But you know, it's still, like, functionally you can go from A to B at a pretty good price with Uber. And so in Web3, I just think about utility. I'm super excited about things like DeFi and decentralized finance for small business. I don't get excited about decentralized finance for large business, because I couldn't give a toss about large business. So I think we have been in a bubble. There's no doubt about that. But I also think what I know from being, and I'm not really a VC, like I set up a VC organization, but much better people than me run it and ran it, because I'm not the greatest investor in the world. But what I know is the best time to invest is when it's at the bottom. Now's the time to build. Now's the time to invest, because that's when the returns are the greatest, when you're at the bottom of the market. And so I think, it's hard to know how it's going to play out. If I was a professional investor, which I'm not, then I'd always have a portfolio play. But do you know what makes great founders? Is great founders go all in on one thing because of their hypothesis and thesis.
Yeah.
And so, how that gets combined, it's, maybe I'm risk averse a little bit, so I like the portfolio play.
Sure.
But I don't do things for how much money I make.
No,
I do things
conviction or belief in it.
Yeah, and I'm very blessed in life. They have a nice house and beautiful family, and hopefully have enough money to be able to afford to get my kids through university and whatever they want to do. But I don't sit there and go, oh, let's get a better car and shit like that. I just, that's not what it's about. And, I just want to say, before I ask you this final question, is thank you. Thank you for being so open. Thank you for saying yes, over the last few weeks, to just engaging, being kind and generous to other people that I've introduced you to, sharing openly today, and being extraordinary. And I don't say this in a way that creates an obligation on you, but the role models like you are really important, right? And
okay, cool.
because, not only do I think about my daughters, but I think about all other people who don't believe they can. And you are evidence that you can. That doesn't mean that you're an Elon Musk or anything like that, because you are Labatt's, but you create inspiration for other people to believe it can be done. And that, and that's extraordinary. So I just wanted to say you're fucking amazing.
Thank you.
And I know I'll get in trouble for saying that, but I don't think so. And I just really appreciate it. So on behalf of everyone,
I appreciate you. Yeah. Thanks.
That's awesome. Now, last question. I ask every single guest this question. If you take yourself back to the 15-year-old student equivalent of you, right? So it's not back when you were 15, 19 years ago, or 23 years ago, or whatever. It's you go into your local school, the school you went to, and you find a 15-year-old wahine. What advice would you give her today?
In today's world, though, like, she's got today's problems, not the things that I have. Yeah.
Right now.
Be you. Be you. Be who you think you need to be. Be actually who you are, because anything else will just cause you trouble, more trouble than it's worth, right? And you should be proud to be you. There's no shame in being you. In fact, that's everything that should be celebrated.
I like it.
I think that's what I'd say. I think they'd look at me and go, "You're so weird." And when old people told you stuff, but I can count the times on my hands when my mum would have said something profound and stuff I should have listened to. But you you can't listen at the time because you need to make the mistakes too, right? But you might look back at it and go, yeah, they were right.
That's a really interesting thing, which I kind of battle with sometimes, which is it doesn't actually matter what you say to your kids.
No.
Like, it's better to say nothing sometimes.
Yeah. Just be there for them, maybe. I don't know. I'm battling with, I mean, I've got a 3-year-old. He's not in this space yet, but I don't know how I'm going to handle these things. I'll have to figure it out as I go.
You'll
but
be great.
Hopefully I'm there for it, right?
You will be. You know, we all go on that journey and we learn, and it's a gift actually that you're given, and they're not yours to own.
No.
You know, they're yours to support as they go into their own life, and it's extraordinary, you know.
And be themselves. Yeah, exactly.
It's an extraordinary.
Yeah.
So what are you doing from here? Going to hustle? Lunchtime?
Yeah, I've got actually to tap into work after this. I'm probably quite late for a meeting actually, but I did say that I might run late. So no, it's on onwards and upwards. I'm working for another part of what I do is a very cool company in Australia, going to remove a heap of carbon if they get it right. So I'm proud to work for them too and support them. And yeah, I'll get on with that. Taking the teams in black to the third web, of course, and trying to cool the planet. Those are my daily tasks.
Leanne, thank you very much. So everyone, if you want to see other videos, Manaki.io, subscribe to Manaki on YouTube, and come and hustle with Leanne and I on the Manaki platform, and you might get an invite to Hustle and Flow, which is our Web3 community. Leanne, thank you very, very much. Have a great weekend. Okay. Really appreciate everything today. And no doubt we'll be seeing you on Discord very shortly.
100%. Thanks, Andy.
Okay. See you, mate. See you, buddy.
Bye.